Howdy folks, and welcome to a very windy Rocky Mountains, Colorado journey with the brand new 2024 Infiniti QX60. And this one, according to this, is not the passion fruit, nor is it juicy fruity. This one is the autograph. I'm making fun of the names that they have because they have some ridiculous names. So this one's the autograph. Now, we've reviewed this vehicle recently, but something came up and I thought that you guys should know. And that is a vehicle called the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek. Why do I mention that? Well, because essentially underneath they're very similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick walk around and we're going to have a nice drive so we can get the hell out of the wind and stop eating dust and rocks. All right? Actually, first, let's go inside. All right? Come on in. Why is it important to be inside of this vehicle other than to stay outside? Look at the gale. Yeah, that happens sometimes here. And I didn't want to blind our poor camera person. So, this is actually the main reason why you would want one of these right off the bat. A long time ago, a friend of mine bought a Infiniti QX4. I think that's what it was called. Basically, it's like a 2000 or so, and that is a Nissan Pathfinder. And I asked him, why did you spend extra dough on this, dude? And he said, go inside, which I did. Now, back then, they had a cool little round clock right here and some other cool little interior goodies, a accoutrement. And it was actually very nice in there compared to the Nissan Pathfinder. So that's this vehicle. And then once again, for those of you who may not know, Nissan Pathfinder recently almost completely redesigned, and this vehicle almost completely redesigned. And one of the main things they did was they replaced the engine and transmission, especially the transmission. The engine is sort of a carryover, just some changes. And that transmission is a 9-speed automatic. But the regular Nissan Pathfinder puts out, I believe, like 284 horsepower or something like that. This one, I am going to be looking at my notes, and the cameraman's going to look away because I don't want you to see my really bad chicken scratch here because it says bad things about your parents, folks. 295 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque. Why does that sound familiar? Because the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek Edition has that same output. If you get the regular Nissan Pathfinder, you won't get that. You'll actually get, I think it's like 284 horsepower, a little bit less torque. So that Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek we were talking about is also a lot less expensive than this. And we're going to get to the price in a minute. But before we boil to death, as it's blowing like crazy out there, let's fire her up. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take a little drive. And also we're going to cool off a hair. How are we going to cool off? Well, look at these. I love the fact that they have this screen inside the dial. That is just so cool, right? And I'm going to turn the vehicle so the camera person can actually see what's going on here. Let's move out of the sun. And there we go. Okay. Now, check out this gear lever, by the way. One of the things we don't talk about enough are gear levers because I don't like saying lever. Lever sounds like I'm intelligent. Okay, so check this out. Reverse, drive. You have to push this side button right here. See this little guy? If you don't push this, you ain't going nowhere. And then, of course, a separate button for park. I'm not a huge fan of separate buttons for park. I just really don't think it's that, whatever. Okay, I'm not going to go into the whole thing about whether or not I like those things because you guys, I'm sure, already know where I stand on that. By the way, we're going to turn on the cooled seats so Cole, the camera dude, can cool off. It's weird because it's kind of cold and hot at the same time. It's 66 degrees outside and extremely windy. Okay, I'm sorry. Back to the screens. This is a 12.3-inch screen, all right? And so is the driver's screen. In addition, and I don't think you'll be able to see it even if I grab the phone and try to shoot this, there is a 10.3-inch heads-up display. Head-up display, sorry, not heads. How dare I say heads? Gosh, the humanity. Head-up display right in front of me. And that's actually a pretty big one. And it shows you a few things. Sorry, I just had an insect on the windshield. Now let me tell you about the interior, because this is once again what makes this vehicle somewhat more realistic when you're thinking about the price difference between this and the Rock Creek. And I'm only going to say Rock Creek and not Pathfinder, because you guys hate it when I repeat something again and again and again, like Pathfinder, Pathfinder, Pathfinder. This is one of the things I really do like that Infiniti's doing. This quilted stitch, it's proper quilted stitch. And there's a variety of different textures that they have in here, from the leather to this kind of piano black finish. I guess you'd say piano black finish. And then you have this ash wood, which certainly feels real. And of course, this quilted, very soft feeling texture. I just like that. It does make the vehicle feel more premium. In addition, we have raised white stitching throughout. It's on the seats as well. And then the pewter finish here, which actually feels pretty good to the touch. I do like the fact that this has a nice spongy feel to it, the gear lever. Altogether, it does feel like a premium vehicle. It does feel like you're getting a little bit of return on your money. So keep that in mind. Now, shall we take a little ride? As I drive, I promise not to make the cameraman too terribly sick. Last time when I got vomited on, I realized I made a mistake. So we're going to take it nice and easy here. All right. Now, this is an area we use often to film, usually because it's away from people other than Crackhead who pulled up recently. One of the things that we've always noticed is that when you leave, this is all gravel here, and it's usually really intrusive and really loud. I am not raising my voice, and yet we're driving over this stuff, and this vehicle soaks up the noise big time. Very quiet interior. It better be, because they're competing with Mercedes-Benz, Cadillac, Volvo, recently the Mazda CX90, which is a pretty impressive machine, and then something else I recently drove, which I'm endeared with. I just absolutely am fascinated by, and that is the Toyota Grand Highlander. Although this really is more a competitor against the Grand Highlander's cousin, and that would be the Lexus TX. But personally speaking, I think the Grand Highlander is a much better idea. And that kind of brings me back to whether or not I would get something like this over the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek. It's tough. You're paying a premium for a nicer interior and, of course, the exterior design. And the exterior design, look, it's kind of a take it or leave it. Infiniti is married to this kind of swoopy, curvy, somewhat voluptuous design. It's not my favorite design out there, but it's not the worst design out there. It certainly doesn't evoke the passion that I think the CX90 does. You know what I mean? Like, it's like not as pretty, frankly. Once again, it's my own opinion, though. But the other side of it is, compared to the Highlander, or the Grand Highlander, I should say, I think this thing is more attractive. So there you go. So let's do a little bit of an acceleration test. Now bear in mind, not a turbo, and we are a mile above sea level. All right, so let me punch it. It doesn't sound too bad. It's got a sense of urgency about it, but she's got no problem hustling, even up here. There's no turbos or anything else like that. A lot of the competition has moved to hybrids or all electric or 4-cylinder turbos. This one's got a good old-fashioned V6 in it, and it definitely seems like it's okay with it. By the way, it can tow up to 6,000 pounds. That's not bad. In this class, that is near the top. Now, I'm thinking that some of you guys are thinking, okay, for that price though, because you'll see it's expensive. I could get, I don't know, like a GMC Yukon or something like that. Maybe. You can definitely get yourself a heftier vehicle. The question is, of course, whether or not you want to sacrifice size for capacity. Remember, this does have a third row seat, has a very comfortable second row seat, and altogether, this vehicle is really built for a daily commuter that parents can have and at the same time have understated luxury. Lexus, well, as I said before, they have the TX, and that would compete directly with this. I haven't driven it, so I'm not going to give you my verdict in terms of performance. However, I can say I think this is actually better looking than the Lexus. I'm not a big fan of that front end design. However, it's subjective in terms of what you guys think of the looks between the two of them. On a final note, I want to say that this vehicle is actually relatively efficient. Yep. So combined MPG is 22. That's not perfect, but it's not a lightweight either. I mean, we're talking about a vehicle that is essentially heavier than the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek. See, I can't stop saying it. Its handling, by the way, is very soft. Throw it around a corner, it'll take it, it'll deal with it, but it's not going to be particularly happy. And by the way, I'm going to do one more circle here because I am curious about the turning radius. Ready for this? This is actually a very tight little area here. I'm going to see if we fall off a cliff or not. Certainly looks like we might, and we just made it. Oh, look at that. Okay. Not a whole lot to tell you about the exterior because it hasn't really changed in a year. So this is essentially the same vehicle. However, if you were to measure it against the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek, which is exactly what I'm doing in this video, you're going to notice that they're very different vehicles. And that's because this has very soft lines, which you can clearly see throughout. And this is the new design language that Infiniti has been adopting throughout their entire lineup. In fact, come on up here, and you can really see it with the way they shape the grille. And of course, their emblem right here. And then finally, and by the way, why do they put Infiniti here where nobody can really see it unless you're standing right here? I look straight down on it in order to see it. There are some very nice curves actually going up and over the hood. I do like this. It's kind of a nice little touch, but it just seems like it's wasted on a vehicle that otherwise really isn't sporty, right? Let's go to the back real quick. By the way, we're doing this while the wind is calm. Otherwise, we'll get knocked over. Another section here that is a nice curve. It comes out to a little bit of a Coke bottle shape coming right over here. Another nice touch. Finally, going to the back, one thing I'm not very fond of, those almost look like exhaust ports, but they're not. Nope, nope, nope. Those aren't. So, what is my verdict from what I want to call a seat of the pants review? I would stick with the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek. Here's why. This vehicle comes in at $69,445. For a fully loaded Rock Creek, that's about $10,000 more. Save yourself $10,000 and get that, unless you absolutely must have this very nice quilted, overall setup. I mean, it is rather opulent. And also, if you want just a little bit of recognition of being someone different, because they don't sell a ton of these. This is one of their best sellers, by the way, Infiniti's. But Infiniti's sales numbers are nowhere near Lexus or Cadillac or Volvo or really anybody. They're kind of on the bottom. Also, there's the Genesis GV80, I believe it is. Yeah, that's pretty good too. And the interior in that I think is actually nicer. I think that this is the best product that Infiniti builds. And I think that's kind of a sad state of affairs because there was a point in time where they used to build some very competitive vehicles. So as good as this is, and it's a very nice riding vehicle. It's very comfortable. Killer stereo system, by the way. I just don't really see how this makes a case for itself compared to the competition. All right, there you have it. I hope you don't mind such a simple review, but it's one that we had to do inside, otherwise we'd be absolutely pulverized by the wind. I'll see you guys next time.